Universal has now officially stated that they have secret plans to develop attractions based on the Wicked movies. It is unknown exactly what these plans might be at this current moment, but Universal has a lot of different theme park projects in the work around the world right now. So let us do some educated speculating on where Universal might be developing these Wicked attractions for, and where within the Universal theme parks, a Wicked land or ride might show up in the not too distant future. Now, first of all, let us do a little bit of a discussion of why Wicked. The first Wicked film was a hit, and it is very clear that Universal wants this to be a franchise. They've already been teasing some kind of extension of the franchise beyond the second film, which will encompass the second act of the stage musical. There are notably far more books in the Wicked series beyond the first one that the musical is loosely based on. However, it would take a significant amount of rewriting in order to develop any of those into an element of a family-friendly franchise. But even beyond the success of the first film, Wicked has already proved itself to be a massive success. The Broadway production alone has made billions of dollars and has become an even bigger hit since the first film came out. On top of which, The Wizard of Oz is probably one of the biggest franchises that doesn't have a major theme park presence anywhere. There is one theme park land that just recently opened in Australia. There is a park in North Carolina that is only open a few days a year, and that is largely it. The Wizard of Oz is a big property that spans generations and countless movies beyond Wicked, that if Universal were to build a Wicked land or a Wicked ride, they would basically have a monopoly on the franchise within theme parks in the US. And assumably long-term, they'd be able to take advantage of not only the success of the Wicked movies, but the success of the Oz franchise as a whole. But with that, let's get into where could a Wicked-themed land go. There are two primary, pretty obvious spots that I think would be a natural fit for a Wicked-themed land, and a couple of other less immediately obvious places that I think this could also go. The first and most obvious one is, of course, as a part of Universal's Epic Universe theme park, the new theme park that they are opening in Orlando, which is set to open later this year. When it opens, this park will have lands based on Nintendo, Universal Monsters, Harry Potter, and How to Train Your Dragon. And the park is being built with 2 expansion pads that are big enough for an entire additional land. In addition to each land that will be a part of the park on opening day, having enough room for at least one additional ride. Wicked taking one of the 2 expansion pads in Epic Universe seems like an obvious fit. They don't have to replace anything, and they would have a decent amount of land to work with for whatever Universal would choose to do based on Wicked. There are obviously numerous different locations that they could recreate and potential ride possibilities, and that is enough speculation for its own video, so I'm not going to get into that here. But there is a part of me that questions if Universal is going to use those expansion pads right away, as by the time Epic Universe opens, Universal will not have put a lot of effort into their existing parks in Orlando, Islands of Adventure, and Universal Studios Florida in a bit, and both definitely have areas that need attention. But we will get into those later, as those areas that need attention might also be less obvious spots where the Wicked land could end up. The other obvious spot where a Wicked-themed land or Wicked attractions could end up is Universal's future potential theme park in the UK. Universal has purchased a lot of land in Bedford with the intention to build a future theme park there. They're currently going through a variety of approvals and planning stages for this future theme park. Nothing is official yet there beyond that Universal is working towards this, but that could very easily be where a Wicked-themed land ends up, especially because the rumors for this future park, since it was known, was that Universal was planning on focusing mostly on original attractions for this park, not things that already exist in Universal Orlando, as Universal does not want the parks to over-cannibalize each other. They want people to have a reason to visit both Universal Orlando and whatever the UK park ends up being called, and don't want the UK park to fully take away from the European tourists that come to Universal Orlando. So because of that, Wicked might be a big thing that could get people to come to a UK park, especially if it only opened up there initially and wasn't exclusive to that park. So that's it for the 2 obvious locations of where a Wicked theme park land could go. But what about some less obvious spots? I mentioned earlier in the video that there are definitely some trouble spots in Universal's existing Orlando parks that could be a potential location for a Wicked themed land. And the first of these I want to highlight is the Lost Continent. This is a land that was an opening day part of Islands of Adventure that has slowly been chipped away at since the park opened, with parts of the land being taken up by the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and then the Hogwarts Express expansion of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and the land land's 2 remaining attractions being permanently closed and sitting abandoned right now. It's currently just a very well-themed strip of shops and restaurants as of the current moment. That seems one of the most obvious things that Universal will be replacing in the near future. And there's absolutely enough room for Universal to play around with here for a potential Wicked Land, and infrastructure that they could reuse if they wanted to. Like, could we see them reincorporating the Sinbad show into a shortened stage version of the Wicked musical like Universal used to have in their Japan park? But there have been other significant rumors for what Universal has wanted to do with this land, notably Zelda. None of that has been confirmed, however, but this is a significant chunk of land that I'm sure Universal is considering what to do with right now. The other area that I think could be a less obvious spot for the Wicked Land to go is the Simpsons land in Universal Studios Florida. It's something of an open secret that Universal's license with The Simpsons is coming to an end in the near future, with most estimates of when the license ends being sometime in 2027 or 2028, with that end date meaning not the day that the Simpsons land has to close, but the day that all Simpsons references have to be out of the park by, meaning the land would actually have to be closed well before that for Universal to remove any public-facing references to The Simpsons. Unless Universal is somehow able to get an extension on the Simpsons license from Disney, then the land has to close in the near future to be replaced by something. And honestly, I have no insider information in regards to this point. I just think that Disney is probably going to want The Simpsons to utilize in their own parks. It's a massive franchise. It still sells a ton of merch. Even if we don't get a full Simpsons land in the Disney theme parks, I imagine we get something once Disney gets the rights back. This could also potentially be a spot that Universal could utilize for Wicked attractions, although this land also does have other significant rumors for what will be replacing The Simpsons. But it also has the advantage of that The Simpsons also exists in Universal Hollywood, so Universal could probably develop one land to be built across both parks and serve as a replacement for both, especially as if Universal wants to build something Wicked across all of their parks, Universal Hollywood would probably be the most difficult to incorporate Wicked into due to being a largely landlocked park with not a lot of expansion space. There are also, of course, a few different, let's call them wildcard options that I could maybe see Wicked going into, but less likely than anything else I already mentioned. Men in Black is an attraction that is beginning to get up there in age. If Universal is looking to replace this ride, then it offers a lot of space, especially if they were to choose to get rid of the old Fear Factor stage next to it as well, although that is notably still used seasonally. There's also always the off chance of Marvel Superhero Island, as Marvel is a property that is of course owned by Disney. However, the deal that Universal has with Marvel predates Disney's purchase of Marvel and is very much in Universal's favor. It was created at a time when Marvel was far less popular than it is today, so the cost for it is far less than Marvel's present day popularity might suggest, and there is no end date for this deal. Plus, regardless of where it ends up going, it's looking increasingly likely that Wicked will end up in the Universal theme parks at some point somewhere. So it is going to be fun to continue speculating over the coming years as to where it might come and what these Wicked attractions will end up being when they do happen.